Today I ask, is it true that there's no gain without pain? Hey everybody, my name is Scott Vermillion, and today we're talking about who's taming whom, and we're talking about the emotion of pain. Well, okay, I've got to confess right off the bat that pain is not necessarily an emotion, but it is something we feel very intensely, and we have lots of emotions that swirl around pain. And I don't know about you, but if something happens to you, whether physically or emotionally, I know that when I experience pain, there's really one dominant action that I want to do, and that is to avoid it and to fix it and to get away from it, to eradicate all memory of that pain. This last Friday, I threw out my back, and I'm telling you, I'm just now getting to the place where I'm sitting somewhat comfortably in a chair, so we're going to make this brief. But I know that my whole week has been ordered around this pain that I felt in my body. And I wanted to remove it because there's things I wanted to do. It's amazing how pain shuts down just like every other organ in your body, and you can't think straight, nor can you work right or move well. And so it's just been a really difficult time for me this week. And that got me thinking, is pain really such a bad thing? Because here's what's happened in my week, is that I've had to rely on other people. I've had to ask people to help shuttle my kids to school. I've had to ask them to ask my wife to help me make dinners and to do certain chores around the house. And it's just made a burden, it made me a burden on other people this week. And you can look at it that way. You can look at it as something happened to me and therefore everyone else is paying the cost. Or I could see it as an opportunity for me to grow in my dependence on other people, especially the people that I love and I know that love me. And I think that I've grown a little bit this week in my own experience of pain in growing in dependency on my family. Now, I also think that this is the way God uses pain in our life. I think He takes something really bad, which whatever is painful, whether it's emotional or physical pain that we experience, I think He takes that and He uses it as an opportunity for us to grow in our dependency on Him. And the way I see this is the capstone case for this is Jesus in Matthew 26, when He prays in the garden and He invites His disciples with Him to pray. And He prays and He says, Lord, if you will save everyone by any other means, by all means, go ahead and do that. But He says, listen, if this is the way it's supposed to happen, if this is what you want from me to go to the cross, then your will be done, not my will be done. And I am shocked that Jesus prays this prayer, that He knows what's coming before Him, and He prays for relief, but relief is not what He's really after. His end game is righteousness, not relief. And in pursuing that, He says, Lord, I want you to know what I'm thinking about this pain coming up, but at the same time, I'm saying, listen, not my will be done, your will be done. And that is remarkable. And as a result of Him willing to pray that prayer, He grows in His dependence on God in ways that He probably wasn't dependent His whole life. He was depending on everything that God said in the Old Testament to come true as He died on the cross. And I wonder if there's not a prouder moment of the Father looking down on His Son to go through that experience, depending solely on God, not understanding probably the whole process if we take His humanity seriously, and yet at the same time giving Himself willingly to the Father's hands. I think that we can play that story out in our life. I think when we experience pain, whether it be from a broken relationship or whether it be from a broken back or some injury that we've had or even a chronic illness that we experience, I think we can play out that scenario of the garden. We can say, Lord, please take this from me. It is painful and I don't want it. I'm giving you my desire that I want this pain to be relieved. But I think at the same time, we can pray, but not my will be done, yours be done. So whatever you want to do with this pain to shape me and to mold me into your image, to make me more dependent on you, I give you that privilege. I give you that right in my life. And I think when we do that, I think the Father is just beaming with joy over us when we make that choice. Because I think we have the ability, God says He cares for us. We can pray and ask people to pray on our behalf to say, listen, I want you to take this pain away from me. If you're sick, call people and ask them to pray for you. This is a totally fair thing to do. But I don't think we can stop there. I think we also need to pray and ask people to pray on our behalf that this injury or this illness or this heartbreak that we're going through will not end up with Satan being glorified, but with God being glorified. That somehow it would create a greater dependence of us on God. And if we, in our deepest painful moments, ask people to pray, not just for our healing and our wholeness of body and soul, but ask them that this pain would not be just reducing me in my daily activity, but it would be given so that I would grow in my relationship with God. I think God could not be any prouder of us in that moment. And in that way, we play out the garden scene. Because what we're saying is, we want God over comfort. We want God over pleasure. We want God over an experience of all these good circumstances happening in our life. What we realize is our greatest treasure in the world is God Himself. And so, when pain comes around, I want you to remember that you can certainly pray for relief. But I want righteousness to be the primary thing that is in view here. I want you to pray, not my will be done, but your will be done. And I want you to invite others into this prayer with you when you're in pain. To grow in dependency on God, to say, I want to pray not only for relief, but I want to pray that this pain helps me be dependent on God in ways that I haven't been before. And in that way, I am growing in my desire for God, and He is actually growing His purposes in me. And then finally, I just can't overstate this, is that when we're in pain, don't go it alone. Jesus in the garden invited His 12 to come and pray with Him. Now, they didn't do such a great job, and the people that you invite in your life may not be doing such a good job either. But I want you to find people who are trustworthy and invite them into your pain so that they can pray with you, so that you know you're not alone, so that they can be the presence of God to say, you can do this, we're with you, we're supporting you. Even though this is painful, we're going to help you see how you're growing in dependence on God and how that is producing incredible gains in your relationship with Jesus. All right, so as we go into Easter, as we start looking at the painful experience that Jesus went through on the cross, both emotionally and physically, I want you to be reminded of the pain that you have in your life. To see that it's not just something that is wasted, it is useful, that God can use it for good if you give it to Him, if you allow Him to use His purposes with that pain and grow in dependence on Him. Because if we do, I know that this will be true, that pain will result in much gain in our life. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Definitely subscribe to this channel. We'd love to send you more encouragement throughout the week, and click like and give us your comments. Tell us what you're learning about pain and how you're going through, what you're going through, and what is God teaching you in the midst of it. All right, guys, have a great week.